Comme si Roger qui ferait pas nous, vous pouvez see nous, yes, and tell us the truth. Real talk, girl, yes, we rating you. 10 out of 10, we like your point of view. We say of course, and we love you, of course. Real talk, woman, Minerva, keep us. Hey, my flower, yeah. My flower, my flower, my flower. It's so power. We want change. We want change. We need change. Why don't want it's so power. Machine. It's so power. Grand Rivière. Corinth. It's so power. Top Moon. Chakra Zile. It's so power. Minerva, c'est boss. Minerva, c'est boss. Minerva.
Good night, folks. Good night. Good night. Okay, this is playing again. Let me stop this. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you for joining me tonight. It's been a while since I've been with you, and there's so many issues to discuss. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming out to join me to discuss the issues of our country. Lots to discuss. Lots to discuss. Lots of issues affecting our country. So we will start, we will go in. Did you like my song? Thank you to the beautiful young lady who wrote my song for me. I didn't ask. She said she was inspired by me. Strong woman, and I'm just quoting her. I'm not praising myself. Strong woman who inspired her, and she wrote my song for me without me even having to ask. I haven't met her personally yet. We've spoken on the phone. I called to thank her. She's a wonderful young lady. I'm not sure if she wants me to mention her name. I will play my jingle, Minerva Kibos, on my lives, but so she let me know in the future if she wants me to mention her name, but I'm not sure she does, so I won't mention her name tonight. But thank you so much to the beautiful young lady who wrote my song for me, who I spoke to before I went on today. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. And speaking of a young lady who wrote a song for me, totally not asked for, not solicited in any way, but she's just inspired and wrote this song because she says, I am strong, I'm very strong. And we had this conversation today, and I said, I don't see myself as that. I just think it's normal. She said, no, it's not. You're strong. And I want to share with you tonight just a moment of vulnerability. Something I struggle with internally as a young woman who's entering the political sphere. I'll just be a little bit vulnerable with you, and I'll tell you something I struggle with. I am somebody who shows up authentically all the time. I stand in my authenticity. I stand in my truth. I stand in my power. I stand in the realism of who I am. I stand in my strength. I stand in my weaknesses. I stand in my vulnerabilities. I stand in everything that has made me, all my experiences. So in entering the political fray, or putting my name in the space, one of the things everybody has told me, and I think that's going to be my biggest struggle in this, is that I have to learn how to play the political game. And I think this is going to be my biggest issue, and let me tell you why. It's because I am not in this to play games. I'm not in this to play games. I'm in this for the interest of my country, not me. I am good. I am good in Canada. I have a fantastic life in Canada. I'm not in this for me. I believe truly, truly that I have skills, talents, knowledge, abilities that I believe would serve my country very well in building that new St. Lucia. Because I truly believe in the vision of Alan Chastney and building that new St. Lucia. I truly believe we're not where we should be. And there's so much greater that we should be achieving. And I believe I have the skills to work with Alan Chastney to develop that plan of building a new St. Lucia. And that's why I'm in this, not to play games. So this is something I struggle with. How do I play the political game, quote unquote, and show up as my authentic self all the time? And that's something I hold dear, and I don't have the answer. I'm going to tell you straight now, I don't have the answer. I don't know. I don't know how to do this. This is something I'm going to have to learn. But I want to tell you right now that this is probably going to be my toughest thing in this political sphere. Playing the political game and being true to myself, who I am, my words, my courage, speaking out, speaking boldly, speaking on issues, speaking courageously, not staying silent. I cannot stay silent when I see things. I have a low tolerance. I have a low threshold for nonsense. I do. So it's going to be very hard for me to play this game of staying silent and turning a blind eye to things that I see are clearly wrong. You know, on one hand, I said, Minerva, you're really going to have to try to learn to do this. On the other hand, I say to myself, God made you like this for this moment, for this purpose. God gave you these exact characteristics for you to be exactly who you are in this moment, because there's a purpose for you in this moment. And I tell myself that. You see, I truly believe too, that there are people, and especially women and young women, who are looking for a woman who has self-actualized, who stands in her strengths, her weaknesses, her mistakes, her flaws, her imperfections, who have had struggles, who've overcome, but who's able to show up and to speak authentically and boldly, and to always stand for the voice of the voiceless, to always stand against what's wrong. So I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer. I'm being honest with you tonight. I don't have the answer. Anyway, let's go into the substantive issues of the day. Let me just read a few comments. Yes, I am a Libran. Yes, I am Libran. Yes, I am. September 30th. Okay, let's go into the substantive issue. Enough time on me and what I perceive to be my greatest challenge coming into this political space. Folks, I will first start on my constituency of Grosley. Folks, there is a noise issue in Rodney Bay. Rodney Bay, as we know, has been a mixed use space. Rodney Bay was an area where people lived, gradually became more and more touristic, and over the last many decades, tourism, commercial, has had to coexist with residents in the space that residents live. And recently, there have been several issues with noise, with elevated levels of noise going past the 2 o'clock. And just even before the 2 o'clock, just elevated levels of noise. Now, I'm not sure why business places in St. Lucia think that noise attracts people, because it doesn't. You can't have a conversation. It's very hard to think. It's very hard to enjoy yourself. It's almost like putting too much pepper on food and believing it tastes good. Elevated levels of noise do not bring people in. And it's almost like this sense of one place competing against the next, and elevating the noise level. The reality is that there are residents in the Rodney Bay area who are complaining, and these people are also business owners. And these people have written to me. They wrote to me, they wrote to the district rep of Grosley, they wrote to the commissioner of police, they wrote to the Ministry of Health. asking, and they're saying they understand the need for businesses to coexist with the residents, because they too, most of them own businesses in Rodney Bay. But they are asking for some kind of relief. They are asking for some kind of relief. I'm just going to read a little bit. I wrote a post a few weeks ago. I'm just going to read a little bit of that for you. Just give me 1 second. Let me find this here. So, I said that recent developments have undermined the respect for Rodney Bay's residents. Certain nightclubs along the marina and the Rodney Bay Strip have extended their operating hours until 4 a.m., started operations earlier on Sunday evenings, intensified volume and intensity of the music, and amplified the bass levels. Consequently, residents face an incredibly uncomfortable situation, struggling to sleep due to prolonged and disruptive noise levels. Moreover, the excessive bass vibrations have resulted in health issues regarding anxiety, health problems, concerns regarding mental well-being, reduced productivity, financial losses due to rental property cancellations, and negative effects on the well-being of school-aged children. Residents living in tourism hubs such as Rodney Bay deserve to have the need for peaceful enjoyment at their homes and the ability to rest and be considered and respected. While tourism is essential, while tourism development is essential for economic growth and prosperity, it should not come at the expense of the well-being and the rights of residents who call these areas home. The rights of residents must be upheld and their concerns addressed. The concerned residents have put forward several reasonable requests, if addressed, can help alleviate the distressing situation. They are as follows: strict enforcement of the 2 a.m. license for amplified music, implementation of a maximum decibel level accompanied by legislation, provision of appropriate tools to the Royal St. Lucia Police Force to accurately measure the noise decibel levels, vigorous enforcement of the noise regulations by the police, and legislation requiring bars and nightclubs playing amplified music beyond 11 p.m. to be enclosed. These were some of the recommendations put forward by the residents of Rodney Bay. Well, Kenson Casimir did an interview, and in the interest of time, I'm not going to play it. An interview saying very little. Basically, you know what? Let me play it for you. Because you have to hear it for yourself. You know when somebody says a lot to say nothing? You know when somebody says a lot to say absolutely nothing? This is what he did. Let me find that interview for you.
A group of concerned residents from the Rodney Bay community have launched a complaint to authorities urging immediate action concerning noise pollution brought on by bars and nightclubs in the area. According to the residents, the amplified music from the establishments has had a detrimental impact on community life, and efforts to bring the situation to an amicable resolve have been in vain. Parliamentary representative for the area, Kenson Casimir, says there have been efforts on his part to bring the issue under control. However, the meetings and actions are continuing to result in a more harmonious relationship between proprietors and residents.
I've had 4 separate meetings within my 18-month period as MP. That is more than 10 years of other individuals before me, with the Rodney Bay residents, with the bar owners, with the police. And it has been an ongoing sort of, we've had to have conversation on how we have some moral suasion, because we know it's a dual area. We're going to have entertainment and we're going to have persons as residents.
Casimir remains confident that the issue can come to a resolution, as actions following these meetings seem favorable, despite the lack of legislative fortitude to enforce decibel levels.
It is something that legislatively has not been dealt with. We have to be dealing with a level of decibels that is important to ensure that we have some level of control. But we do have individuals that have moved very close to where entertainment is going to continue to be enjoyed in the community, and so we must sit down at the table.
according to Kenson Kazmi, he has residents who have moved in to where music will be let me let you hear it again.
To be dealing with a level of decibels that is important to ensure that we have some level of control. But we do have individuals that have moved very close to where entertainment is going to continue to.
But we do have residents who have moved in very close to where entertainment is going to continue. Kenson Kazmi, I'm not sure if he is aware of the history of Rodney Bay. Rodney Bay has been a residential area. The places where bars and nightclubs now exist are residential areas. The residents didn't move in. The nightclubs moved in. So don't get it twisted.
To be enjoyed in the community, and so we must sit down at the table and continue to see what we can do as one people.
We must sit down at the table and continue to see what we can do as a people. Non-answer. This is nothing more than a non-answer. He's basically said nothing. He's basically said we intend to do nothing. We're sitting at a table and deciding. Oh, just kicking the ball down the road, not addressing the issue. And that was several weeks ago. In the meantime, nothing has been done. Nothing has been done. The residents of Rodney Bay are still dealing with the high noise levels, the inability to sleep, to enjoy a place. The guests of their B&Bs are canceling because of the noise levels. It's just ridiculous. And you have the district rep, Kenson Kazmi, who is not addressing the issue, but just giving a non-answer. Anyway, the other issue I want to go on to Kenson Kazmi before I go on is the issues of desilting. Now, I heard Kenson Kazmi talk about, he had a whole live. Now, since November of last year, and you remember, the rivers in Corinth, and that same river that flows through Grand River and Corinth goes out to Waterwash and empties in the water by Tuya. So those of you who know that area, and I am from Corinth, I was raised in the Corinth area, Riverstone to be exact, before any of those houses were there. There were 3 houses when my family moved into Riverstone. There were 3. Let me check my fingers. Let me not do like Pierre. 1, 2, 3. There were 3 houses when our family moved into the Riverstone area. So I walked all that area in bush. I know that area very well. That same river flows from Grand River to Corinth to Waterwash and empties by Tuya Beach. All that, for the first time ever, last November, we saw flooding in Riverstone. That whole area, Grand Riviere. We saw flooding in Bonte. We saw flooding in Moshi. The rivers were not desilted adequately. I'm not saying they were not parts of the rivers that were desilted, but there was not a comprehensive desilting program. So we saw thousands upon thousands of dollars in goods, in furniture, and household items lost in the flooding. The entire year, since November, we've not heard anything about the desilting of rivers in that area. Kenton, on the eve of the last storm, on the day of the storm, Maisie excavators in the Waterwash River, the day of the storm, to do what should have been done all the while. Okay? So Mr. Kenson got run off. And rightfully so, by the residents who said this is unacceptable. The storm is coming, you're now rushing last minute to do piecemeal excavating. So Mr. Kenson goes and do a live to show banana leaves in a river. Now, I am not saying what he's saying is incorrect, that people really need to stop the indiscriminate dumping of garbage. That is high-level nonsense. That garbage is disposed of indiscriminately. It's high-level nonsense that people dispose of their garbage in the rivers. But that cannot be an excuse. That cannot be a scapegoat as to why the rivers were not adequately desilted. And that cannot be an excuse why there was all that flooding last November. So stop trying to create excuses and to shift the blame. Desilt the rivers and do it adequately, comprehensively, and properly so that that issue does not come up again. This is the end of June. We have a long hurricane season ahead of us. There are hundreds of families, in fact thousands of families possibly affected by the rivers in the Grosley constituency. Engage in a comprehensive desilting program of all the rivers so you don't have the same issues that happened in November of last year. Never in my life of growing up in the Corinth area have I ever seen the rivers flood like that. I've never ever seen that. Stop shifting the blame, Kenson, and do your work that you were elected to do. Thank you. Let's move on. The next issue is the 2.5% tax and the implications for that tax. Folks, this government, in the next few days, today is June 27th, on July 1st, St. Lucians will be faced with a new tax, a 2.5% tax upon tax, a new tax. Now let us be clear. Let us not fool ourselves. This is nothing more than an increase in VAT. Let us be clear. This is nothing more than an increase in VAT back to the original 15% that a former Labour Party government implemented back in 2011. Let us be clear that this 2.5% new tax is nothing more than an increase in VAT back to the original 15% that they had initially imposed on the backs of St. Lucians back in 2011. You will remember in 2011, I remember clearly the cost of living skyrocketed, 15% VAT. Let me tell you what happened in St. Lucia. Because I still lived in St. Lucia at that time. Businesses closed down. Unemployment increased. Places like Beaufort were hard hit. It was business closure after business closure after business closure. Folks, you cannot keep taxing already overburdened population. You cannot. It's like drilling for oil in a well that has no oil. It does not exist. You cannot tax St. Lucians any more than they are already paying. Folks, you will also remember the burden that this caused on the backs of St. Lucians. You will remember that when Alan Chasney came in, he promised to lower the VAT rates, and he did. They didn't think he could do it. I didn't think he could do it. To be honest, I did not think he could do it. But he did. And you know what else he did? He was able to recover. Not even the IMF thought he could have done it. They challenged him, and he did it. And in 1 year, he was able to recover all the revenues that we had lost as a result of decreasing that. He was able to recover it through an expansion of the economy. And what I mean by that is, while you lower the cost of VAT or the VAT rate, but you increase the economy, you expand the economy, so you have more people paying into the tax pool. You have more goods and services in circulation. So you have more tax by volume rather than overburdening the individual with crazy income taxes, on top of that crazy VAT, and on top of that crazy property taxes. This is already an overburdened population. Alan Chasney came and he lowered the VAT rate and recovered all of the money that was lost through an expansion of the economy. He did it. This government has come in and they turn, they twist, they somersault, they do all kinds of things. They talk about Alan Chasney was wrong to lower VAT. Could you imagine the audacity and the stupidity of that statement? Anybody who understands economics can never make an asinine statement. But I hear Richard Frederick talking, Alan Chasney lowered VAT. Yes, he did, and he was able to recoup all the money lost from lowering VAT. They twist, they turn, they don't know how to increase VAT on the backs of St. Lucians. They twist, they turn, they don't know how. They shift, they dance, they do all kinds of things. They don't know how to increase VAT. So they come with a new tax, a 2.5% tax. Up to now, we have not heard the details of how this tax will be implemented in a few days, in 4 days. 4 days? Let me count my fingers because I don't want to be like Pierre. 1, 2, 3, 4. In 4 days. In 4 days, there will be a new tax of 2.5%. And up to now, people don't know how it's going to be implemented. Up to now, people don't know what it is for. Now, let me make it clear. Let me make it clear. It's one thing to pay taxes, because we all have to pay taxes. We all have to fund the cost of the society in which we live. We have to fund the infrastructure, we have to fund security, we have to fund the upkeep of our ports, we have to fund government salaries, we have to fund all of that. I get it, we have to pay taxes. There ain't no running away from it. I complain about taxes all the while. But when I see what I get for my taxes, you understand, right? When I see what I get for my taxes, I understand. I could go into any hospital now, any doctor, and not have to pay a cent. God forbid I have a serious illness, I don't have to pay a cent. So I see what I get for my taxes. In St. Lucia though, when a government is trying to justify or is trying to put a 2.5% to impose another 2.5% tax unconscionably on the backs of St. Lucians, and when you see their actions and do not equate or do not match up to this, it is a hard pill to swallow. When you see the level of wastage that this government is doing, when you see the level of wastage by this government, this SLP government, it is hard to understand how any government that says they care about the people and putting people first can have a heart to impose an additional 2.5% tax on the backs of St. Lucians. When you see these guys never miss an opportunity to jump on a plane. They never miss an opportunity. Meanwhile, we get no reports of what they're doing overseas. All joyride they there. Kenson Casimir, a FIFA World Cup finals, he there. Every opportunity to joyride, they there. And they never say they're going anywhere. When they challenge, you know what they'll say? The organizing body paid for it. FIFA World Cup paid for you to go to a finals. St. Lucia anywhere close to that. Up to now, we haven't seen any evidence of that. Up to now, we haven't seen any evidence of that. But, and even if an organization was paying for the trip, who is paying for the podiums? Just recently, we saw a check for $13,000 to Alva Baptist. You know what his justification? It was subsistence. Subsistence for 7 days of travel. These guys are joyriding all over the world. Richard Frederick on a plane like he never seen plane before. Before he's a government minister, he's afraid to go on a plane. Next week they bush him somewhere. These days, since he go England, they bush him too much. Every opportunity to get, he in Algeria, he everywhere. That's how this government operating. $12 million on jazz. $12 million on a glorified block for St. Lucians. Because we have not seen the visitor numbers to justify this. We're hearing about catering bills of 50 grand here for this comrade, 50 grand here for this one, 50 grand here for this friend, 50 grand here for this family, 50 grand here for this supporter. When you see this level of wastage, when you see they are imposing an additional 2.5% VAT, I call it VAT because it's VAT, When you see they impose another 2.5% VAT on the backs of St. Lucians to finance the electioneering and to fund their comrades and their supporters, it is a hard pill to swallow. So they basically creating a campaign slush fund of little contracts here and there for the supporters, paid for by you. Paid for by you. Hear me clearly when I tell you this. What this government is doing is creating a fund where they can give their supporters, their people, to do their campaigning. Because campaigning started already. Philippe won all since last year, campaigning start. So all of these little contracts, all these things are nothing else but glugler. Nothing else but glugler. To put contracts and to think in the hands of their supporters and the key people they want to win over. Meanwhile, it's paid for by you. And in addition to the fact that you are already taxing an overburdened society, one that is dealing with sky-high inflation, that we've never seen before. And Philippe is quick to tell you this is imported inflation. He is quick to tell you it is imported inflation. Well, part of it is locally created inflation, and I'll tell you why. Part of it is locally created inflation, and I will tell you why. In addition to be dealing with sky-high inflation of imported goods, you have a gas tax that the Prime Minister refused to lower. Another tax. Refused to lower. Now remember, this gas tax was going into for the upkeep of roads. No roads are upkeeping right now. But he has maintained and increased the gas tax to record levels. Okay? He has not provided subsistence for bread. Meanwhile, the price of bread has gone up, gas has gone up. When gas goes up, bus fares go up. And the bus fares will never come back down. The price of bread will never come back down. Once you have the price of gas going up, it means your transportation costs go up. It means the cost of your goods go up. It means the cost of your services go up. That is locally created inflation. That is locally created inflation. Philippe cannot keep blaming inflation on the cost of imported goods and foreign factors. There is locally created inflation that Philippe could have done away with. You cannot boast about a $70 million deficit and keep the gas tax as high as it is. You cannot reconcile the two. You cannot boast about having a $70 million deficit and keep the gas tax as high as it is. Overburdening St. Lucians with taxes. And now you unconscionably come and put another 2.5% VAT on the backs of St. Lucians. And you tell me about you putting people first? You telling me you're putting people first? Who are you putting first? Who are you putting first? The only people who are benefiting in this country are your comrades and your friends. Yourselves, your family, and your comrades and your little cliques. Who else are you putting first? Are you listening to the cries of the people? Next issue, Cabot. Folks, this week we saw pictures of the SLP elites laughing and drinking their champagne and having a mighty grand old time golfing with Cabot. Oh, they were having an awesome time, the SLP elites. I won't call their names, you know who they are. The usual suspects in the Labour Party. The usual suspects in the Labour Party. We all know their names and their faces. We saw the pictures of them having a grand old time with Cabot. Folks, let me tell you, I almost fell out of my chair. The hypocrisy of this Labour Party. The hypocrisy, as my friend Rick Wayne says, of this Labour Party. And I'll tell you why. Folks, Let me take you all back down a little Cabot journey. Let me take you all back down a little Cabot journey. Because Norbert and I talked so much about this Cabot issue when it was happening on Sky FM on a morning. When I used to wake up at 2:45 a.m. to be on the show with Norbert, keep it real, on a morning on Sky FM. Norbert and I dealt with the Cabot issue so much, and I will deal with it again. Because y'all were not listening. I shouldn't say y'all. The nation was distracted by lies told by people like Richard Frederick. The nation was distracted and believed the lies. Let me tell you, and he continues to lie about Cabot, you know. He continues to fill people's head with ignorance, with stupidity. Let me tell you all about Cabot. Cabot has always been privately owned lands. These were not government lands. Okay? These were not government lands. Those lands were first owned by Cap Estate Limited. Privately owned. They were more recently owned by Dennis Nadoni. Those of you who know Dennis Nadoni, like I knew Dennis Nadoni, he had built, you see where Sandals Golf, the clubhouses at Cap Estate? He built that. Dennis Nadoni. The land on which Cabot sits now was supposed to be a Raffles golf course by Dennis Nadoni. After he died, the property fell into receivership, meaning the bank took it. It was not being paid after he passed. That land was up for sale for years. Nobody bought it. That land was up for sale for years. That entire property was up for sale. Finally, we were able to get a developer, Cabot, a Canadian company that has golf courses here in Canada, highly reputable golf company. NIC gave Cabot a loan of 30 million EC dollars, a mere drop in the bucket of the total investment. A mere drop. That $30 million covering what Cabot built. A mere drop. Now, when people say, oh, they give Cabot pensioners money. Oh, they give Cabot our pensioners money. Rubbish. Absolute nonsense. Do not listen to Richard's ignorance and stupidity. It's either he doesn't understand, he's feigning stupidity, or he's malmanaging your Seville. Let me explain to you all what that loan from Cabot is. That loan from Cabot is nothing more than an investment. NIC is a pension fund. If you invest that $5 today, that $5 when you retire at 65 ain't gonna be worth nothing. You hear me? NIC, just like all insurance companies, have to take that $5 you put in today and invest it into revenue generating investments to be able to keep up with the cost of inflation and the time value of money. So when you reach 65, you will be able to get something that is worth something that you could retire on. Loans are one way of doing that. And the return on the investment is the interest paid to pensioners. So that nonsense, and I want you to stop repeating that nonsense because you all sound very stupid saying that, and very ignorant. And Richard Frederick, you sound stupid and ignorant saying that. And stop repeating that. They give Cabot our money, our pension money. NIC has to invest pensioners' money. The returns to pensioners is the interest on the loan. Cabot repaid the loan early, which means that pensioners lost out on what they could have gotten. But the Labour Party was just confusing St. Lucia. Cabot is like, I don't need my name in this. Look, here's your money back. We lost interest on them paying their loan early. Interest that could have come to pensioners by the stupidity of the Labour Party. And where are they now? Where are they now? Marjorie get $1 million. Hello. Marjorie's lawyer got his million. Sorry. Marjorie's lawyer got his million. Ask yourselves, who is Marjorie's lawyer? Ask yourselves, who is Marjorie's lawyer? Sorry. So Marjorie got her money. She got her place. Her lawyer got his money. Cabot has continued, and rightfully so, because this is a good project all along. This is a good project that would bring very high valued visitors from Canada, the type who play golf, the type who spend significantly in the economy, create jobs both in construction and post-construction, create linkages with local suppliers to provide goods and services, food, farmers, fisher, etc., to Cabot. This was always a good project. But the Labour Party confused St. Lucians and had y'all jumping up on a beach. Jack don't want me to bathe on my beach. The Cabot had never had any plans to block the beach, but they were jumping up on the beach. Today, look at who drinking champagne at Cabot. Look at who is playing golf and drinking champagne at Cabot. Let's go on. Next issue. Shelters. Folks, thank God our country was spared from this last storm that passed. Thank God our country was spared. I need to play this for you because we learned after the storm, we learned that hurricane shelters could not open or did not open until after the storm, after the all clear was given. I don't know in what world this madness could happen. I don't know in what world. Okay? I don't know in what world. It has always been the case. It has always been the case that a few hurricane shelters open before the hurricane or the storm, so that people who do not trust the structural integrity of their homes, either they don't believe it can withstand the winds or the rain, or it's built in a flood-prone area, or they don't feel safe for whatever reason in their homes, or the homeless, or etc. People don't have friends and family to go to. It has always been the case where a few hurricane shelters or disaster shelters have opened before a storm, and people encouraged to come in before the storm hits, right? We saw what happened, and those of us who lived through Hurricane Thomas in 2010 remember the landslides. We remember the disaster that happened. Remember the hills that came down. Entire hillsides came down. There's still people buried under rubble in Soufrière. Y'all have forgotten? Because of the nature and topography of St. Lucia, there are a lot of flood-prone areas. People are built in precarious areas in St. Lucia. You have to open your shelters to give people some kind of security, those who don't feel safe in their homes. But apparently in St. Lucia, you have to go through the storm. You have to go through the storm, survive it, and God, thank God, nothing happened during this storm. But it could have been worse. Do we forget what happens in our neighboring island some years ago? Entire roofs were gone. During Ivan, 90% of the roofs in Grenada were gone. In our own Thomas, hillsides came down, mudslides, people lost their lives. Pure devastation. You cannot take those risks. Even Tropical Storm Debbie. I was a child during Tropical Storm Debbie in St. Lucia. You all have forgotten? Christmas Eve trough, you all have forgotten? And you cannot tell me you're not opening Nobody asked you to open all the hurricane shelters. Open some. You come and tell me you're going to wait until people have to go through the disaster, go through a terrifying night of galvanized flying, roof off, this, that, landslide. And if you happen to survive, then you're going to access the shelter? And listen to the excuse. Listen to the excuse. Listen to the excuse.
Our shelters are open mainly after post-disaster. Because one of the reasons is that when we open before, it means that it's a cost to the state. We open before and sometimes you don't get anybody coming to the shelters. We have almost 260 shelters. You cannot open all of them. So they are open as needed post the disaster. If you have looked at your risk and you have recognized that your home is prone to disasters, whether it be a landslide or flooding, and you have no family and friends that you can go to, then you contact your local district disaster committee, and they, along with the shelter managers for whichever shelter to be open, will make the arrangements to shelter persons.
Could you believe that? Could you believe that, folks? Let's listen to that again.
Our shelters are open mainly after post-disaster. Because one of the reasons is that when we open before, it means that it's a cost to the state. We open before and sometimes you don't get anybody coming to the shelter.
So you open the disaster centers before, it's a cost to the state. Yes, it is. Why do you think people pay taxes? Yes, it is. It's one of the services that are provided by the state. You are supposed to see about the security of your country and your people. Yes, it is. We're not asking you to open all. Open some. So the government don't have money. So you're going to leave people to die during a disaster. The government don't have money, but you're all over the world. 2x2. The government does not have money to open shelters for the safety and survival of its citizens. But you'll have money for jazz. You'll have money for carnival. You'll have money for... Listen, this is a champagne communist government, eh? The most cocktails, champagne flowing, all their comrades, all them there. That's this government. Everywhere you see them is a cocktail. All of them there with their champagne, all their comrades. But y'all don't have money to open a shelter for people before a disaster. How that making sense? How does that make sense? That the safety and security and lives of St. Lucians are not of a priority for y'all, but y'all have money for all your cocktails, for all your comrades and your friends and your family, and always on a plane all over the world. Tell me how. Y'all have money for jazz and carnival. Y'all don't see your priorities upside down? Y'all don't see your priorities are upside down? Let's go on. Let's go on to this acting commissioner of police. Let's go on to this acting commissioner of police. Folks, I am sure
where for a woman to advance, she must compromise her body.
I am sure that you'll have heard about the situation with this commissioner of police. You have a commissioner of police that there are swollen allegations. Now hear me clearly. There are allegations by multiple women over a period of time of sexual assault. This government has put a commissioner of police to act who has multiple allegations of sexual assault of women swirling over his head, and they have put him to act. Tell me, in what world does this ever happen? Tell me, in what world can this ever happen? Yes, allegations are not always accurate. They're not proven. But investigate the damn allegations before you appoint a police commissioner. How could you have a police commissioner with that over his head? On what authority is he going to act? He has no legitimacy. A police commissioner with sexual assault charges over his head, not charges, sorry, allegations over his head. And y'all see nothing wrong with that. Y'all see nothing wrong with that. That is acceptable to you. And where are the women in cabinet? Where is Emma Hippolyte? Where is Virginia Albert Poyot? Where is Senator Lisa Joy, who's always come quick to jump on something about the rights of women? Where is her voice in this matter? Where are women's activists, like so-called women's activists, like Catherine Seals? Where are they? See, where are they? Have they overdosed on the mumu pills? Have they overdosed on the mumu pills? Because I cannot believe this government will put to act a police commissioner with multiple allegations of sexual assault swirling over his head. Wouldn't you investigate it first and put them to rest? How could you have investigations going on? Allegations that have not been put to rest of sexual assault, and put this man to act as our police commissioner. And the force is supposed to have any level of credibility? How? The Royal St.Lucia Police Force is supposed to have any level of credibility? Joke you're making. Joke you're making. And listen to the Prime Minister. Listen to this.
To the commissioner, I've said to the commissioner that people have their choices. We are adults. You can't tell an adult what, and that's a person's human rights. An adult has a right to do whatever they want within the confines of their bedroom or the confines of their car, whatever. But no woman should come to a workplace and to know that if she does not follow the dictates of somebody who is higher than her, her job will compromise. That's not right. It cannot be right. And I've told the commissioner that will stop if it's happening.
And people clapping for that. Listen to this.
And where for a woman to advance, she must compromise her body. And I have said to the commissioner, that people have their choices. We are adults. You can't tell an adult what, and that's a person's human rights. An adult has a right to do whatever they want within the confines of their bedroom or the confines of their car, whatever. But no woman should come to a workplace and to know that if she does not follow the dictates of somebody who is higher than her, her job will compromise. That's not right. It cannot be right. And I've told the commissioner that must stop if it is happening.
And I have told the commissioner it must stop if it is happening. And he told the commissioner it must stop if it's happening. Is that Prime Minister right in his head? Is this Prime Minister right in his head? There are allegations of sexual assault by the police commissioner, and you tell the police commissioner he must stop if it is happening. You'll ever hear something like that? Let me read this for you. This was a message I received. As a woman, I'm so hurt by this statement from St. Lucia Prime Minister Pierre. sending a message as though for women to advance, she needs to compromise her body. Why doesn't he deal with the real issue where at the workplace, the men, like the police commissioner, should not threaten women that if they don't give their body, then they cannot advance. And when they get raped and try to report the matter, then they get threats to lose their job until some get a nervous breakdown. Pierre, don't turn around the issue on women. Pierre, don't turn around the issue on women. Send a strong message to the men doing this, like the police commissioner. I should say, I'm reading this person's thing, I'll add, allegedly doing this. Like the police commissioner. Stop deflecting the real issue where the SLP removed the promotion process for the police force to promote the same commissioner jumping the rank of assistant commissioner. So they've taken them out the process. They have removed the process because they want to promote their own boy. They have removed the process because they want to promote their own boy. So they jump him over the rank of assistant commissioner to deputy commissioner and now acting commissioner, and yet using women. Miss Pelius, so Miss Pelius was the former one. Listen to this, the hypocrisy of this government. I'm going to come back to this. Listen to the hypocrisy of this government. Miss Pelius, the last police commissioner, last year, they knew the lady had 6 months until she retired. 6 months until retirement. But they create this big song and dance because they want to be the first one to have a female commissioner of police. So they want to get the credit for it. They want to be the party to bring in the first female police commissioner. So they bring Miss Pelius, knowing that she only had 6 months on the contract. You see how hypocritical this Labour Party government is? So they want to act like they are for women. And as soon as she retires, they take their boy, Ronald Phillip, who has multiple allegations of sexual assault hanging over his head. They leapfrog him. They leapfrog him over ranks to push him into that role, bypassing the process. Don't give a damn whether he has allegations of sexual assault over his head. Leapfrog him to put him in his role. And worse yet, using a woman, Miss Pelius, as a scapegoat, like she was for 6 months, to create a vacant post as deputy commissioner and now commissioner. Oh, so they wanted to put him in that post. So they pushed her to commissioner, knowing she'd only be there for 6 months. Oh, that's what y'all did there. That's what y'all did there, like a freaking game of chess. So y'all wanted that position she was in. So y'all put her to commissioner, knowing she only there for 6 months. So y'all bring your boy to deputy commissioner, knowing that in 6 months, that's his role. So you're going to put him there. So she moved out of the thing as a chess piece, and y'all put your boy there, Ronald Phillip. That's what y'all did there. That is what this Labour Party government has done there. Shame, shame, and criminal behaviors right here in government. And the St. Lucia police force, as in my mind, the name Royal should be removed. With the character now leading us. Oh, this is written by a police officer. Okay. Also, the president of the Police Welfare Association, Cameron Law, the commissioner is playing victim. So the commissioner is playing victim. Typical of the SLP and the acolytes and the operatives. Playing victim and blaming Cameron Law when the real victims are the women getting raped and abused and forced to remain silent. Cameron is just doing his job as president of the Police Welfare Association. This is this government. This is this Labour government. I want everybody to see how dirty this Labour government is. How dirty they are. Next issue. Richard Frederick. Richard Frederick, we have not forgotten. I'm sure you would like this to die. We have not forgotten the unusual, irregular sale of Bannon's lands for way below what they were valued at, without any logical explanation as to the sale to a 27-year-old girl, young lady, sorry. We have not forgotten that your excuses make no sense. We have not forgotten that your excuses make no sense. And I would like to see a judicial review into the sale of those lands. Richard Frederick, we are not letting you off the hook. You would like this to die, but we are not letting you off the hook. This sale reeks of corruption. This sale of those Bannon's land reeks of corruption. And we need a full and independent investigation into the sale of those Bannon's land, and not by your Labour Party people. We need an independent investigation and review into the sale of those Bannon's lands. We need a judicial review. I am asking the question to Richard Frederick. I am asking the question tonight. I am asking the question. Is it true? Is it true that you are also trying to sell land at the VG Cove by where the Marine Police Department, the Marine Police unit is, to the same secret buyer of the Bannon's land? You see, folks, the Bannon's lands were supposedly sold to Gifter Eugene, the daughter of Reno Gajada. 27-year-old with no history of property development, commercial development, nada. No history of owning a business, nothing. We were told Slasper did not want the land because they could not afford to develop the land. It was too expensive. But a 27-year-old who has no record of property development is able to develop that same land. The land that Richard Frederick shows us pictures with rubbish on the shore. Because he thinks he's so smart and he thinks the rest of us are dumb. The real buyer for this land that remains in the shadows. I am asking you today, is there any truth that you are also trying to sell land in VG Cove by where the Marine Police unit is? Is it true that you are bullying an old lady who lives on that land to get or to sell her land? Is there any truth in that? I'm not saying there is. I am asking a question. And to the same buyer in the shadows, is there any truth in that? You see, there's some of y'all, there's some of you who intend to get very rich of this government, not of this government, because it's the taxpayers of St. Lucia. There's some of you who intend to leave your 5 years in office very rich. Is there any truth in that? You see, the thing is, You can hide to buy land. You can't hide to develop the land. Hear me clearly. You can hide to buy land. You cannot hide to develop the land. In time, we will all know who really bought that land. And you will have to answer Richard Frederick as to why the real buyer of that land was hidden. Next issue. Next issue, folks. Trouble in we mass. Trouble in we mass. Trouble in we mass. Folks, trouble in we mass. Ernest Hilaire fought because he could run a carnival band. He could run carnival in St.Lucia. Ernest Hilaire fought because he and his comrades can run Red International, that he can run carnival in St.Lucia. Well, clearly he got a rude awakening, and he's been getting a rude awakening. Community carnivals that have been around for decades, either flopping or people boycotting. And I want you to listen to the excuses Ernest Hilaire and his nonsense, because these guys, they either believe we're stupid, or they believe their own lies, or they believe they can talk themselves out of anything. But let me tell you, this weekend, Super people didn't play with them. The Super Stadium was looking just like the World Cup cricket stadium back in 2007. And the same person at the helm of both of them, Ernest Hilaire. He was the CEO of World Cup cricket. We couldn't get our stadiums filled. We had to be giving tickets for free. Nobody wanted tickets. Carnival in Super looking the same way. He didn't do anything in St. Lucia World Cup cricket, and he ain't doing anything in St. Lucia Carnival right now. Both of them flopping. He don't understand tourism. He making a mess with Carnival. And CIP, I'm coming to that in a second. He does not understand tourism. He's making a total mess with tourism. We have no airlift coming into St. Lucia. We're losing airlift. And the flights we have are so expensive. No cruise ships. Every year, we have 1 or 2 cruise ships coming in the off season. No cruise ships. Don't understand tourism. Messing up Carnival. And I'm coming to CIP in a while. Let me make you listen to his excuse for Soufre.
Carnival weekend, which had generated much buzz in the community and island-wide in the lead-up, unfortunately fell flat this past weekend when a decision was taken to suspend the Juve celebration and postpone the Carnival parade. This decision ultimately led patrons to boycott a show headlined by Farmer Nappy, which formed part of the calendar of events. Opining on the developing situation in the southwestern community, Culture Minister Dr. Ernest Hilaire reiterated the need for a template to be developed to guide the planning and organization of community carnival activities.
Super natives and prospective revelers were left largely disappointed this past weekend when the highly anticipated calendar of events scheduled for Super Carnival did not come to fruition as expected. What added further fuel to the fire was the notice issued by the Super Regional Development Foundation on Saturday, 24th June, indicating the cancellation of the Juve festivity and postponement of the Carnival Street Parade, previously set to take place on Sunday, 25th June and Monday, the 26th. However, frustration was already brewing in the southwestern community prior to the communique being issued, as speculation was rife that some of the events had not received approval. The conjecture gained credence when the press release published by the SRDF cited a lack of, quote, requisite permission as the reasoning for the cancellation of the Juve event. As for the street parade, the SRDF missive indicated that a collective decision was taken by the carnival bands and organizers to postpone the event to ensure that the quality was not compromised. Nonetheless, these decisions did not go over well with constituents nor patrons, and the partial boycott of the Break of Dawn show, headlined by internationally acclaimed soca artiste Famanapi, was indicative of that displeasure. Opining on the fallout of Soufrière's Carnival weekend, Culture Minister Dr. Ernest Hilaire suggests that the postponements may have been inevitable considering the workload associated with hosting major mass crowd events successively.
To have to
Listen to excuses, y'all. Listen to excuses. Listen to excuses. This government takes ownership and accountability for nothing. Forever shifting the blame, deflecting, making up stupid excuses, can never deal with the issue and take ownership and acceptability for their failures. Always have to deflect and shift the blame. Listen to the excuses. Listen to the hogwash.
A big show in Famanapi Saturday night. As soon as it finishes, you go into a Juve right away. And as soon as Juve finishes, you go into street parade. But who's going to police that for you? When you talk about a big show for Famanapi, straight into a Juve, is that a different set of officers you need? And then go straight into street parade. That's a full set of officers, but they still have the rest of the country. So you have to ask whether, if I had a rule, I'd say no. Maybe do your Juve Saturday morning. And if you do Famanapi on, Friday, Saturday night, then you have your parade at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So you have a break in between. You can't manage 3 big events continuously like that. You can't do it.
In light of the situation down in Soufrière, the minister has appealed to planning committees and private entities to exercise best practice by applying for approval in a timely fashion before promoting an event to preclude disappointment.
The other thing we have to start saying to the communities is that you have to apply for permission for events. People in St.Lucia now, private promoters and even some communities, advertising events, but you've not even requested permission to have the events yet. And then now when you are told, sorry, that cannot work, then people get upset because they have the expectation, they're planning to go to the events and they hear it's cancelled or it's postponed.
I wish I had the platform to show y'all his face when he's saying that. I wish I could have shown y'all Ernest Hilaire's face when he's talking this bunch of caca. Because not even he believed the garbage he's talking. Not even he believed the rubbish coming out of his mouth. Jana said, Jana, I just saw your message. You said, these guys really take us for fools. These guys really take us for fools. The guys say there are multiple big events. Since when that's a problem? You'll have multiple events in Castries in the north every single day. They have about 5 or 6 or 7 events, big events. Since when that is a problem for St. Lucia Carnival? Since when? But today, today gonna make up excuses? Your friends, your comrades have all their big events up north. Nothing for that. Your comrades have all their big events up north. Nothing for that. They have all the police they need. Last year you brought on RSS for Carnival. We have not forgotten. Last year you brought on RSS right before Carnival and you left right after Carnival. You brought on RSS for Carnival. You all brought down RSS for Carnival. Today you're telling people they don't have enough police for their multiple events, and you have police in Castries for all your friends' events. How that making sense? How that making sense? Super people are right to deal with y'all the way they deal with y'all. They're right. They're right. More communities should do y'all the same thing. The power of the people is greater than the people in power. Do not play with the people. Let's move on. Let's move on. Folks, let me tell you what's going on. Let me tell you what's going on with our CIP program in St. Lucia. Let me tell you what's going on with our CIP program in St. Lucia. Folks, sorry, just give me 1 second. Just give me 1 second, sorry. Right. Our CIP program, our citizenship by investment program. Hear me clearly. The sale of our citizenship, the sale of our St. Lucian passports, the sale of our, remember this word? Patrimony. Remember this word? Labour Party loves to use that word when we're in opposition. Our patrimony, our patrimony, our patrimony. Labour Party, one of their favorite words when they're in opposition. I have not heard that word for the last 2 years. I have not heard that word patrimony. Our citizenship, our passports, and our patrimony are being bastardized by this government under the guise of CIP, our Citizenship by Investment Program. Let me tell you the scam this government is running. Let me tell you the scam this government is running with our CIP program. Do you remember under the former government and the previous governments, the previous Labour Party government and the former UWP government, every year you had to table in Parliament exactly how much money was received from CIP and exactly where it went, where it was allocated to. So if you're using it for hospitals, if you're using it for health centers, if you're using it for education, exactly where those funds were allocated to. It had to be tabled in Parliament every single year. There were checks and balances over our CIP funds. Do you all remember that? This government came in and immediately changed the legislation where cabinet has power and authority over CIP funds, not the Parliament. So it does not even have to be tabled in Parliament. Parliament has no idea how much money was received from the sale of our passports, have no idea how many passports were sold, have no idea who's walking around with our passports. They have no idea. Parliament has no idea. It is totally left up to those in cabinet. And they can decide how they spend our CIP funds. Hear me clearly. They can decide on their own without any checks and balances or any accountability to the Parliament and people in St. Lucia who you all are giving our citizenship to. No accountability or oversight. Let me tell you what this government is doing. Do you all remember Labour Party saying, we must not cheapen our citizenship. We must not cheapen our citizenship. We must not cheapen our passports. Let me tell you what this government doing. Our passport making dog. Our St. Lucian passports are making dog. Hear me when I tell you all that. Our St. Lucian passports are making dog. Just now you're seeing them being sold at SNS. And I don't mean through briefcase. That's another one. I'm talking about the sale of our St. Lucian passports through CIP. So this company called Galaxy, and Galaxy is in China, company out of China. This company actually came down under the last government. That was the company that was supposed to build the canals, the hotel and canals, the one that this government tried to take credit for. So it actually came down under the previous government. But there were checks and balances to make sure how they were selling CIP, there was oversight of that. Let me tell you what this government is doing now with Galaxy. So, whereas before, you needed to have an approved real estate investment amount of $300,000 to be able to qualify for our passports. This government, this CIP, has entered into a legal financing arrangement through their own marketing channels. And they were selling our St. Lucian passports for as low as $68,000. Our passport is making dog. Our passport is now the cheapest passport you can find. Our passport making dog. You hear me? The cheapest passport you can find. Our citizenship is worth nothing under this government. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. So under this arrangement, $68,000, our passport is the cheapest. Out of that $68,000, the government of St. Lucia, the people of St. Lucia, the government of St. Lucia gets $25,000. Not only has it been lowered to the lowest levels ever, all the government gets out of the sale of our passport is $25,000. The rest of it, the company Galaxy keeps it, and the agents. Hear me out. Out of the $68,000, and some of the passports go as low as, I should say as low as, I shouldn't say all, they go as low as $68,000. $25,000 goes to the government of St. Lucia. The rest is kept by Galaxy and paid to the CIP agent. But here is the catcher. For Galaxy to get this sweetheart deal, let me tell you what was the exchange. For Galaxy to get this sweet deal, the deal was that all the work had to go to two best friends of the minister of CIP. Hear me clearly when I tell you this. All the work from Galaxy, the arrangement is they will lower the price of citizen passports to prostitution-like levels. And all the work has to go to two CIP agents. These two CIP agents are best friends of the minister of CIP. One is the chairman of one board, of one of his boards. The other one is the chairman of the other board. When that minister travels, both of them are with him. When he goes before investors, these two best friends of his, who is a chairman of one board and a chairman of another board, are with him. They have bastardized our passports for their comrades and their best friends to benefit. This is what is going on here. And one of the people who is chairman, the chairman of the board of CIP, by virtue of the fact of being chairman of CIP, should not himself or his office be a CIP agent. Because at the end of the day, he has to sign off on those citizenships. Guess what they did? Guess what they did? They made a young lawyer, a junior lawyer in his office, a CIP agent. So the chairman of the board of CIP is benefiting. His office is benefiting. He's benefiting personally of the sale of our passports. Do you understand what I'm telling you all there? Do you understand what is going on there? When I tell you these guys are setting themselves up to leave in these 5 years rich at the expense of everybody else, you better believe me. This is what is going on in our sweet St. Lucia. The bastardization of our passports, of our St. Lucian citizenship. That is what is going on there. Folks, and there is no oversight. There is absolutely no oversight for our passports. There is no oversight on where the money is going. There is no oversight of how many passports were sold, how it was received, who has it, how it's being spent. Nothing. There is no oversight. This government is running a jumble sale with our passports for the benefit of their comrades and their best friends. Folks, this is what I have for you tonight. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. We went through a lot. Somebody asked, where is the Integrity Commission in all of this? Who is monitoring these dishonest politicians? I don't know. But we St. Lucians at home and abroad, we have to guard the guards. We have to guard the guards. We St. Lucians at home and abroad, we cannot keep silent. We cannot stay silent and allow this bastardization of what is ours to go on. We cannot. Sorry, give me a second. We have to take a collective stance. We have to take a collective stand and speak out against what is happening in our sweet St. Lucia. We cannot allow this to go by unchecked. And then they will come and give you stupid excuses. Escobar will come on his show on a Thursday and come and fill your head with nonsense. Because they insult our intelligence and we believe their BS. You see, it fools St. Lucians for them to win the election, so they think they can continue fooling St. Lucians in government. Yes, you may fool St. Lucians to win an election, but you have to perform. You have to give an account of yourself. You can't keep fooling St. Lucians and believe we're going to keep buying your lies. We see through you. But St. Lucians, you cannot be afraid to speak out. You have to speak out. You have to educate your family members. You have to educate your neighbors. You have to talk to them about what's going on. My voice here can only reach so much. You have to take the information I've given you and go and speak to people, educate them on what is happening in the country. Explain it in your own words. Explain how you receive it, but explain. Go and talk to people and receive it. Call the radio stations. When we share the information, share it. That's the only way. Folks, I'm going to leave you tonight. Have a blessed night, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for taking the time out of your night to tune in to listen to what I have to say. I thank you. I appreciate your time so much. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Thank you, everybody. Have a restful night.